Imagine the headlines the next morning. The world's richest billionaires lose everything overnight. Their bank balances fall to zero. Their investments disappear. Their mansions, private jets, yachts, and company shares are taken away. By sunrise, there is not a single billionaire left on the planet. And at first, this sounds fantastic. Surely all that missing wealth has to go somewhere. Maybe it gets divided among ordinary people. Maybe poverty disappears. Maybe everyone wakes up slightly richer, while a few thousand former billionaires discover the character-building experience of flying economy. Except there is one problem. Billionaire wealth is not a giant pile of cash. And if it vanished overnight, you probably would not become richer. You might actually lose money. To understand why, we first need to explain what a billion-dollar fortune really is. When someone is described as being worth $100 billion, it sounds as if they have $100 billion sitting inside a bank account. They do not. Most billionaire wealth is ownership, shares in public companies, private businesses, real estate, patents, factories, land. A billionaire may be worth $100 billion because they own part of a company that investors currently value at $500 billion. But that valuation is not guaranteed cash. If they tried selling every share tomorrow, the price would begin falling before they finished. This is the financial equivalent of owning a house that somebody says is worth $1 million. You do not actually have $1 million. You have a house and an optimistic estimate. So, for this thought experiment, let's establish one rule. At midnight, billionaire-owned assets do not get redistributed. They simply become worthless, and that is where the dominoes begin falling. The first domino is the stock market. When trading opens, some of the largest personal holdings in the world are suddenly valued at zero. Investors panic. They begin selling related companies because nobody knows what those businesses are worth anymore. Prices fall. Trading algorithms detect the decline and sell even more. Governments may suspend markets before breakfast. But billionaires are not the only people who own these companies. Pension funds own them. Retirement accounts own them. Universities, charities, banks, and ordinary investors own them. So, when the value of a major company collapses, the billionaire loses the biggest number. But millions of ordinary people lose smaller numbers at the same time. Congratulations. We eliminated billionaires and somehow damaged your retirement account before lunch. The second domino is corporate control. A billionaire losing their fortune does not make their company disappear. The factories and offices remain. The employees still arrive at work, probably very confused but physically present. A company is legally separate from the individual who owns its shares. The problem is that somebody still needs to control it. Who appoints the directors? Who approves major investments? Who decides whether to hire 10,000 workers or close 3 factories? If the billionaire's ownership simply vanishes, courts and governments would need to decide where it goes. They could give the shares to employees, they could sell them to new investors, they could transfer them to creditors, or they could place them inside a public investment fund. Until that happens, banks may stop lending to the company. Suppliers may demand payment in advance. Business partners may delay new contracts. Strong companies would probably survive. Weak companies could collapse under the uncertainty. Which brings us to the third domino, the difference between destroying wealth and distributing it. Imagine a billionaire owns a mansion worth $100 million. If the mansion is sold and the money is distributed, wealth has been transferred. But if the mansion burns down, nobody becomes $100 million richer. The value is simply gone. The same applies to companies. A factory is valuable because it produces something. A business is valuable because customers pay it. A patent is valuable because it controls useful technology. Destroy those assets, and society has less wealth than it had before. But transfer them, and the assets continue producing value for a different owner. So, The version of this scenario that could actually benefit ordinary people is not one where billionaire wealth disappears. It is one where ownership changes. Their company shares could be distributed among employees. They could be placed inside national investment funds. Future profits could support pensions, infrastructure, healthcare, or direct public payments. On paper, this sounds much better, but now we reach the part nobody likes discussing. Who controls the fund? Politicians? Government officials? Employee committees? Millions of individual shareholders? You can remove the billionaire's name from the company. You cannot remove the power that comes with controlling it. You have only transferred that power to someone else. And the former billionaires would not necessarily remain broke for long. Their assets may be gone, but their knowledge, reputation, and relationships remain. They still know investors, executives, engineers, and political leaders. Some would start new companies. Others would become advisors. A few would probably release books about how losing $100 billion taught them the true meaning of resilience. More importantly, the economic system that created billionaires would still exist. Some businesses would grow faster than others. New technology would be invented. Investors would make successful bets. Property would increase in value. Money would begin concentrating again. Unless the rules around ownership, inheritance, taxation, and political influence changed, a new billionaire class would eventually emerge. Different people, same result. So, if every billionaire lost everything overnight, the world would not wake up equal. It would wake up confused. Markets would fall. Companies would fight over ownership. Governments would intervene. Some ordinary people could eventually benefit. Others might lose jobs, savings, or pensions during the chaos. Because billionaire wealth is not merely money. It is control over assets that millions of people depend on, which means the real question was never, what happens if every billionaire becomes broke? The real question is, who owns everything the next morning? Making billionaires disappear is easy in a thought experiment. Deciding who receives their power afterward, that is where the real argument begins.